Can I briefly ask you to introduce yourself and also tell me how long you've been associated with centipedes?
I'm Jahnavi Joshi, and I'm an evolutionary biologist based out of Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. I've been studying centipedes from 2005, which is 20 years. But
Wow.
yeah, that's a long time.
And that was for your PhD, right?
Yes, no, for my master's. So I did my
Oh,
master's
really?
in biodiversity, and that's where I was introduced to not only centipedes, but other soil arthropods as well, as scorpions, spiders, centipedes. They all live in the soil, rock crevices.
So you started out by going out and looking for these animals.
Yes. So this course was titled Biodiversity, which was introduction to the biodiversity around us, but it also had other components, evolution, pharmacology. So how do we use biodiversity for pharmacology, fermentation technology, other things. But my interest was looking at biodiversity from more ecology and evolutionary point of view. So I started out seeing how many, so it's not only centipedes, but centipedes, scorpions, spiders, how, which species occur where. So we started looking at different habitats like dry forest, evergreen forest, plateaus, and which species occur where. So it was very straightforward in a simple project, saying which species occur where, what sort of species richness we find in these different forest types.
What places to look for, where to look for centipedes, right?
Yes, and I think that was the most fascinating thing, at least as a master student for me, that when I'm looking at large mammals, which habitat to look at, people have studied these, but like herpetofauna, many of these soil arthropods live in the leaf litter, under the rock, in
Right.
crevices, on the rock bark. So I think that was more fascinating to see a different habitats where these organisms live.
And are most of the centipedes nocturnal?
Yes, all
All
of
of
them,
them.
all of them. All of them are
So,
nocturnal, all of them are venomous. Yeah.
and what senses are they using to navigate?
So they use their antennae, so tactile movement, so sensations, because they move in the soil, in the leaf litter, or on the bark, or on the rock.
Right.
Any movement they can sense. So they use their antennae. They also have simple eyes. They have both actually. Some centipedes are with compound, some with simple. So they use their vision, but not so much as the motion.
And hearing?
No, not really. I've never thought about it. I don't think so. I
Okay.
don't know if they have ears as a well-developed organ. Let me check.
Okay. 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 And is there some chemical signaling as well, like maybe to find mates or food or something?
So we don't know their olfactory signals at all. So they are venomous. So they do produce venom, which is definitely a
Okay.
chemical signal, but it is to capture their prey.
Right.
So that's why the venom is used largely, and that's the venom we have studied the most. But very recently in 2024, there are people who are now saying centipedes also have a defense venom, which is to avoid from a predators. They also produce some kind of a chemicals which are on their legs, and their legs have these tiny articles or like a hair structure. So we don't know which organ produces that, but there is definitely a chemical signature which has been detected. But
Oh, and
so we are yet to
okay.
explore.
And this is completely independent of the venom that they have in the jaws.
Yes, yes. So
Oh,
including
interesting.
my group, we study that venom and we define it as a predatory venom because it's a
Right.
first pair of their legs, which is now modified into a venom gland. It's like a duct shape. You can see a tube and a duct in which they produce that venom. They use that to capture the prey. And this is a very well-defined organ and a venom. And the
Right.
compounds are for predation purpose. So this is a recent discovery that they do also have a defense venom.
And do you know of people studying centipede behavior or observing them for?
So I think observing, yes, but not so much of behavior. So a
Okay.
large proportion of researchers who study centipedes are taxonomists. then systematicist, few
Right.
biogeography, and very few on ecology or behavior. But one of the reason
Right.
is because these animals are very difficult to rear.
Of course. Also very hard to see in the wild and
Hard to
very
see for a
quick.
while to make those observations, or even if you want to bring them back to the study, they are cannibalistic
Right.
and they're solitary. So there's a repertoire of behaviors which one can study is also quite limited to
Right.
look at.
Right. Hmm. So coming back to where you look for them, you must see a clear gradient of disturbance and density. As you move away from human habitation, you get to see more centipedes. Is that true?
Yes, so more diversity for sure. Like human dominated landscapes has very few species. Does that abundance change? We don't have a very good handle on that. But species diversity definitely gets impacted.
Okay, so there are some species that tolerate human disturbance and some that don't.
Some are very habitat specific, some which are
Right.
can occur, or rather only few species which we have been studying, which occur in the
Hmm.
human dominated landscape. Like even
And
the
are
insects you will see.
okay. And are they, is this based on genus? Are they related evolutionarily, or how does that, is there a pattern to the shyness?
No, no, not really. So you will have, so the group which I should be specific, the group I have been largely working on called scolopendrid centipedes, where we can at least identify genus and a species now. For most of the other groups in India, we have very little literature and very little understanding. So what species they are. So we broadly categorize them in the orders. So we wouldn't have a data to say how humans have impacted them. But the group I've
Hmm.
been studying are scolopendrid centipedes, in which we can see within the same genus, you will have one or two species which are widely distributed, which can tolerate human habitation or human dominated landscape, but others can't. And there are certain groups which you will never see in the human dominated landscape.
Can you speculate on why that is?
So we've been trying to get at what is their climatic niche, for example, as a requirement. And we do see a certain kind of a soil characteristics, a leaf litter is required for
Right.
them to. And in human habitation, moist places are there, which are dominated by, there's a species called of genus Scolopendra and another genus called Rhysida. So you have two species of belonging to these two groups, which you will see much more widely, which can use different habitats. Not
Okay.
necessarily leaf litter is required for them. They can live in the crevices. They can live at any shaded, wet, cold. But for some, there
Right.
are just the specific requirements of habitat which don't exist in the human-dominated landscapes.
And this habitat specificity, so one thing could be thermoregulation or climatic considerations, maybe
Yes,
like how moist it is or how dry, how cold, how wet. But I'm sure food also plays a significant role since they're all carnivorous.
yes, it must. However,
Yeah.
we understand very little, and currently we are actually looking at their diet. So we have
Right.
some observations in the field, in the close to where we work. What do they feed on? And they feed on a really large range of animals, from
Hmm.
frogs, lizards, bats to small invertebrates. So if
Like
that
termites,
counts, yes, many invertebrates,
like
earthworms,
small, really small stuff also.
really small stuff to bats. So that's a quite a wide niche
Yeah, yeah.
which they can
Wow.
feed on. So we are
Yeah.
actually looking at their gut right now. So we are dissecting their
Right.
gut, seeing what all has been eaten by that individual.
Right.
So hopefully we'll have a good handle on that. And but frankly, we are not necessarily looking at what's in the human habitation versus forest. We are looking at largely forest for now. But eventually
Okay.
that's interesting to see if food also changes in
Yeah.
human
Yeah. Yeah.
forest.
Because it's quite evident that even just the number of moths or the number of insects reduces drastically around human habitations. And I'm sure that plays a role. It's a bit like to have a tiger in the forest, you need a certain resource base. That's how I think of centipedes.
They are. So we do call them the tiger of the soil fauna. There is actually a centipede called tiger centipede, which has a similar orange
Right.
and black stripes. So they are the top predators in the soil farm layer.
Do they also eat scorpions, or does it depend on size and age?
Size and age and a group. We have seen both.
Yeah,
Centipede eating scorpion, scorpion eating centipede.
exactly. Yeah.
There's also a third player usually who lives along with them, which is a saw-scaled viper. So you
Right.
have,
Yes.
then the viper eats all of them.
Yeah. You don't get tarantulas in the same landscape sometimes.
Sometimes you'll get, but tarantulas are much more burrowing than these organisms.
Right.
At least during the day, these organisms come on the surface. Tarantulas still can live in the,
Okay.
not all, but the ones
Hmm.
which see commonly with these organisms can live.
And do we know about their mating behavior, courtship?
Not much because, as I said, they are cannibalistic. So we can't even make any observations on them
Yeah.
because if two individuals and their sex organs are internal. So there
Okay.
is no sexual dimorphism to see if this is a male or a female. But what we have
Right.
seen is gravid females, and sometimes female. We have also made an observation on females have spermatheca. So one
Right.
of the theory in the field is that they mate once in a life and they store sperms, and after that they don't need to. But
And
very few people in the wild have seen mating.
right. And any parental care?
Yes. So scolopendrids, which we study, show strong maternal parental care. So the mother, usually the clutch size is around 30 to 40. So the eggs are covered, like actually a female covers, it makes a ball kind of a structure and covers it.
Right.
The eggs hatch, young ones also, mother maintains that kind of a ball structure. I'm sure there is a lot of chemical communication which happens at that time. And
Yes.
only
Yes.
when adults, like the young ones become adult, mother leaves the clutch.
How old is, as in, till when does she care for them?
I think few weeks is what we
Okay.
can say. Again, we have tried to make these observations, but we have not been very successful because once you bring the clutch to the lab, you may mimic
Right.
the same conditions, but female senses that environment has changed and eats all her eggs because it's a lot of investment for a female, 40 or
Right.
20 eggs.
Right.
So she predates. We have not been very
And
successful in what's the development time?
are they territorial?
Yes, but again, very few studies which have been done. You will never see more than one or two individuals in a large
Hmm.
patch of. If I'm looking at 2 by 2 meter plot, for example, which we lay a
Right.
lot of them in the forest, you will have one or two individuals, which clearly
Hmm.
indicates they will be territorial.
It's interesting because so much spider behavior work has been done, and it's just so hard to study centipedes, no?
Yes,
I'm
because they're
sure people are
nocturnal.
trying.
The nocturnal is the biggest. Also, and a
Or maybe
behavior
hard to rear, I think. Hard to rear in
to
captivity.
rare, hard to rare. Yes,
And they probably
nocturnal.
need like large areas and they're so fast moving.
Yes, they are super fast. But millipedes, on the
Um,
other hand, which are herbaceous group, which is sister to centipedes evolutionarily, have been very well
mhm.
studied. They are herbaceous, they are active,
Yes.
they show mimicry, they show local migration. So they also have these behavioral traits which have fascinated people. People have looked at that.
Like what else have people looked at in millipedes?
So they show local migrations, and the hypothesis there is they track resources. Sometimes
Okay.
they track rain. These are again all the studies which have largely done in the US. They participate in something called Mullerian mimicry, that multiple
Oh,
millipedes, which are distinctly related to each other, have a similar color pattern and also have toxic compounds. And they form these strong Mullerian mimicry rings. So
right.
where color patterns are converged of independent of each other, and
Right.
they're distasteful to the predators, and they actually have toxins. So this kind of a Mullerian mimicry has been studied in millipedes. But interestingly, centipedes could also be participating. You ask them what sort of mode of communication, or what did you ask them? How do they travel or motion, or
How
do
do
they
they
see?
navigate?
How
Correct.
do they
Yeah.
navigate? So to avoid predation, this is again our hypothesis. They also, I think, participate in Mullerian mimicry. They have, as
Right.
I was, there is a tiger centipede which has this orange and black stripe pattern. You also have coral snakes in the same landscape, which has a similar.
Correct.
So they must be with the color, and they are venomous. So they produce venom. So they must be forming these Mullerian mimicry rings with organisms. I think we still don't have a data, and these colors are not measured using spectrophotometer. We have
Right.
images. We
But some
suspect
sort of evolutionary
convergence must be happening
on
in
the
the
same color pattern.
color pattern.
Yeah. Anything else that you can tell me about what you think it's like to be a centipede, like from the centipede's perspective?
If I'm a centipede, I need a cool place because they have open breathing organs. So they have a spiracus, is it called,
Right, right.
on the lateral side of the body. And when you have open spiracle, it's your breathing organ which is open. You need a cool space because you can't lose moisture. So you need a moist place to survive. You can't be exposed to sunlight, but at the same time, you don't want to be visible to the predators. So I think having multiple microhabitats to live really is what I think centipede must be looking for.
And this is a pair of spiracles per segment.
Per segment, yes. They have a pair of legs per segment and a pair of spiracles. Not on all segments, on alternate segments.
Yeah, but talking of their morphology, it's pretty ancient, as in it's pretty, what do you say? Conserved, right?
Yes, yes. So you have 100 million-year-old fossil of a scolopendrid, which looks like
Right.
today what we see is scolopendrids. So morphological
Wow.
features are conserved. They are also called, it's a controversial term, but living
Hmm.
fossils, because over
Hmm.
millions of years, they have not
Right.
lost those features. Like you can still see those features in the fossils.
My God, it's fascinating. So something that evolved 100 billion years ago is managing to live alongside humans in human cities.
Yes, and I think the story we would like to say whenever we talk about these groups, and not only centipedes, but centipede, millipede, scorpions, spiders, is that they have survived last 500 million years. We have the oldest fossil, which is 420 million year old, of a centipede called Scutigeraomorpha. We still have Scutigeraomorpha, which look like that today. So they have survived all mass extinction events, and you have some living group, like
So
species.
Scutigera is the non-venomous one.
Oh, it's also venomous. It looks like a spider. It has long legs.
Right. It's venomous, huh?
It's venomous.
Oh,
All centipedes are venomous.
but not very aggressive or something.
It is also aggressive and very fast moving
Yeah, so this is the one with really thin legs,
in legs. Yeah.
long, thin legs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they don't look so dangerous somehow.
They don't look so dangerous than the scolopendrids, which are huge body
Yeah,
size.
yeah.
But they have survived. They have survived dinosaurs. Like dinosaurs went extinct in Cretaceous. So these are few groups which we have living.
So coming back to Scutigera do they bite humans?
Yes.
And is it as painful as the others?
Yes, it will be. They all have neurotoxins, but Scutigeraomorpha
Right,
has a simpler venom. It's only 4 compounds, all neurotoxins. Scolopendrids
right.
have the most complex venom. So the bite will
Okay,
be much more painful of scolopendrids as compared to Scutigeraomorphs. But they all can bite, but none of the venoms are lethal for humans. So you won't die.
right.
You will have an inflammation, you will have fever.
And when you say complex venom, do you mean it's a complex mixture of chemicals,
Yes, yes. So complex
many
cocktail.
of which are not identified yet?
Yes, we are working on it. So we know there are
Right.
neurotoxins, there are sodium potassium channel inhibitors, there are enzymes.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I was reading up on what is there in dendrocnide and these plant toxins, no? Which is when I realized many of them are not identified yet and still being,
Yes, yes. But that's the interest
yeah,
right now because they could be potential drug targets. Centipedes use
correct.
this to capture the prey, so they paralyze their prey. So all
Yes,
the pain management drug discovery right now is looking for these small peptides, which can be then and very
right.
expensive. the way, one medicine which is one of centipede, one of scorpions, spiders, right now in clinical trials. So people have gone ahead, identified
In India or in the US or where?
Australia, in Australia. So you
Oh,
also have a lot of venomous organisms in Australia.
correct,
Like,
correct. Yeah, you also have a large dendrocnide in Australia. And the paper I was reading is from Australia. They've identified ultra-stable proteins, which can, even 100-year-old preserved specimen can sting you. Yeah. So the centipedes, which can still survive in human cities, there is a lot of legend around them. No? There are tales and people think of what all they can do. And I
they're
think the
called
most persistent one is that they can climb into your ear.
yes. So centipedes can climb because I think when you're sleeping and they are
On
not on the floor and you are in the agricultural land, for example, they can easily come because they're looking for cold, moist places. So
correct.
many people have seen centipedes, I think, in their bathrooms, for example, because that's
Hmm.
what in urban landscapes you will have moist places to live. So I think that tale can be true in terms of okay, there's some where they can come close to human and that interaction can happen. Actually, the scutigoromorphs in the US actually live in the houses. So it's called house centipede. In
Oh,
India, we don't
really?
see it. Yeah. In India,
What
they are
kind of
not
houses are these? Like wooden houses?
wooden houses.
Yeah.
So
I'm
that's why it's
guessing there are
called
more crevices and things, no? More places to exist.
yes. And that's why it's called house centipede. But in India, we don't have so many scutigoromorphs in the houses. We largely see them in the forests. And it's not like we
Hmm.
don't have those habitats, but for some reason we have never seen or people never come and told us that, hey, we have seen scutigoromorph in our house. But they do see scolopendrids.
Right. That's true. I've also seen more scolopendrids than scutigeras.
Yeah,
Also, I think urbanization has made a difference. Like the niches have reduced. There's less habitat.
it's habitat, yes. So I guess more greenery, more habitat available for species to live. You'll
Hmm.
see diversity.
And are there any endangered centipedes?
Not yet.
We don't know enough,
We
basically.
don't know enough, yes. But there are tarantulas, for example, which have pet trade have caused them to be endangered.
But in your experience of collecting centipedes, are there some that are really hard to find, like really habitat specific?
Yes, habitat specific, like wet forest habitat specific, they will not be there
Okay,
in the little dry area also. But there are species which occur only in the dry area as well.
okay,
You would wonder where do these guys go in the summer? It's really
right.
dry, like the rocky outcrops or most of peninsula, which goes really dry in the summer. But in the
Hmm.
monsoon, you see these centipedes again there. So we think they hibernate a lot and they go really deep in the soil.
But none that are rare, you think?
At least not in our experience. We haven't really seen that one kind you see more often than other. We don't have those kind of observations.
Okay. And so the lack of diversity in human habitation around cities or towns is basically a lack of habitat.
Lack of habitats, yes.
Okay. And if one wanted more centipede diversity in cities, you think recreating those habitats would bring them in?
I guess so. But it's very difficult, no? Like if the habitat is a wet forest, you will have to then think of wet forest. Or for
No,
example,
of course.
rocky outcrops. But you may also need some kind of a refugia, like where will they come from? They are also low
Right,
dispersing organisms.
right.
So they are not going to travel a lot in a generation. So their generation time is usually 8 to 10 years. They're known to be low dispersing organisms. So to get there, I think you also need lots of refugias within the landscape, which can act as a
Hmm,
source for them to come. Because
hmm.
they themselves are not going to travel these large distances.
No, two scenarios I was thinking of. One is, say, Bangalore, like what used to be probably a scrub thorn forest at some point, is now completely urban. But if you wanted to have the scrub thorn centipedes in Bangalore, just recreating those a network of those habitats maybe would
Yes.
be enough.
Yes, but eventually, like they will not
Eventually,
start,
of course.
start occupying those habitats immediately, but eventually,
Yeah.
yes.
Also, once enough food is there.
Once enough food is there, and there is also an assemblage which lives in this rocky thorn scrub forest. Like you'll have lizards which are endemic to those habitats. You'll have snakes which are endemic to those habitats. Vegetation which is endemic. So it's not only that one group will be dominated. So food of
Yes. But in many ways, the centipede can be like the umbrella species,
one
which
can think
could,
it's a top predator, and we have
yeah,
a long history of using top predators of
as at least
umbrella
as
as a
indicators of habitat health, maybe.
habitat. Yes.
Yeah. And so, how, what precautions would humans have to take in such a situation? Like to be able to live with centipedes?
Don't go very close. Don't handle them. And if at all you are bitten, I think you will be okay. You may have to take antihistamine or just be careful. Sure, doctor. But because these toxins are only the sodium potassium channel inhibitors, they're not. You're not going to
Right.
die. So, yeah, not handling is the best way, and they won't come
So,
and hit you. So
these sodium potassium inhibitors of your pain receptors.
no, how it operates, no. So these are potassium channel inhibitors. So
Right.
they paralyze the prey. So these are called
Okay.
So they affect a neural channel in such a way that prey will be dead. So they have very well developed teeth mouth parts. So they
Right.
don't these venoms to like
Digest food.
So you have some enzymes also which have a digestive purposes. So they are also injected along with it. But these are
Oh,
called paralyzing toxins.
okay. So it's
Have the
it's like a
channel.
blanket channel blocker.
So some are very specific. So we don't know that which ones they have. So it affect only the mammalian receptors? Will it also affect anurans? Will it affect lizards or only invertebrates? So I think that's where the diversity, what we are studying, will tell us. How unique are these
Right.
receptors? Are they generic? Are they species specific? How how many copies? So it's also abundance of these venom proteins. You can have
Right.
a bouquet or a cocktail, but in what
Right.
proportion you produce them?
Yes. Yes.
That
And
will
what
determine what
quantities?
maybe, yes, that determines what you can handle, what you can.
Yes. Yeah. Apparently, dendrocnide, the chemical it has, is similar to a lot of insect venoms.
Oh, I must look at this plant, what it is.
Ha. I'll share the paper with you. It's really interesting. This is elephant nettle.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
It
this
has
is allergens. So,
no, apparently that's what they thought, but
ah,
this has silica-tipped thorns, needles, which are
uh-huh.
filled with these chemicals that have been identified as they're called gympetides because it's called the gympie bush in Australia, so they call it gympetides now. These ultra-stable proteins, which also they change the ion flow in your pain receptors.
Oh, so they must act in the similar way.
They
Must,
semi-permanently change the ion flow in your pain receptors so that it gets triggered by water or mechanical stress even a week later.
wow.
Yeah.
They really thought of their mechanism very well.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it makes you almost question evolution.
Yes, but I won't be very surprised because scorpions also have some of the deadliest venoms.
Right.
Tarantula, one of the scorpions I'm sure is lethal for humans. And we have an
Yes.
antivenom against that now.
Yeah.
You can do test. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think then it becomes a matter of quantity of how much.
not necessarily
No?
the composition.
Okay.
Like snakes, many snakes have a venom, right? But only few snakes are venomous to humans because they have hemolytic protein. So what sort of protein or what sort of composition of your venom is, it's not necessarily volume. It can be in a very small quantity, but if it's going to affect some of your important channels, for example, it can be lethal.
Right.
So you have these black widow spiders in Australia, which can kill humans.
Yeah. Yes.
So they are
Right.
tiny, venom is small quantity, but
Yeah.
so humans
So also,
don't have to worry about these animals because they don't come and necessarily bite. You just don't go and catch them with bare hands or
exactly,
handle
exactly.
them. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. So you think they're easy to live with.
yeah, very easy to live. Don't bother them,
And
they don't bother you.
and do you see value in living with them though?
Yes, I think that's the question with most of our biodiversity around us, no? Because the diversity we have shown in multiple ways how diversity matters, right? So, and it's a food pyramid also. We understand that you have a predator, you have a prey. So if you remove one of those, you will have a problem of the others.
So do you think the loss of centipedes has led to the increase of their prey in some instances?
It will eventually. Or some other
But
organ has to take that niche. Then the scorpion numbers can increase. Whoever are their competitors, spiders, sauskel vipers. So
right, but
usually,
do you know of instances of cases where this is documented?
not
No.
really. But we have the other kind of instances where there aren't humans, in islands especially. You have a
Hmm.
large gigantic centipedes. So when there
Right.
are any predators, you will see a lot of other predators. Any group, whichever group goes first on the island will be the dominant
You said giant centipedes.
one. Yes.
Where is this?
You have it in many islands. Even in Andaman Islands, you will have the species which go up to 30, 40 centimeters.
This is because small things increase in size on islands.
Yes, yes.
Is there a consensus on why that happens? The last time I checked, it was still debatable.
Yes, and I think in only few groups you see this. So if you
Right.
don't have a competitors and you have access to more food, or if there is an intense competition, the other way around, you need to be bigger and a
Right. As
lot.
in, and large things become small.
Large thing becomes small. Yes, that also happens. But in centipedes, you have seen the other way around. Like centipedes usually
Yeah,
grow
yeah,
in.
of course. Like elephants and other things become small. Hornbills become small. Yeah. Hmm. Okay, so let me ask you a slightly tangential question. Since you also study venom, and that is slightly so centipedes are safe, but there are other venomous things like snakes, which are much more dangerous to live with. Do you still see value in living alongside them, though?
Yes, I think, see, frankly, now mosquitoes are also equally dangerous. We do live with them. We can't eradicate them. So I think we need to come up with a strategies to how to live with them. And people have lived with very venomous snakes and they identify, I think, awareness, which snakes are more venomous, how you not to deal with them. Will make sure that you can live with these venomous organisms. I think awareness, telling them, and I think people who live actually, like if you ask a farmer whose farm may have a cobra or a crate or a sausage viper, they know how to deal with them, how not
Hmm.
to come in their way and live with those. But I think in
Yeah,
urban infrastructure, I think it becomes a problem because they don't have a space, right? Like we have encroached their spaces or soil actually where they can live. Those are gone, and then it becomes a problem. So if habitat for them to live, I
yeah.
think should be okay.
But moving beyond just tolerating them or learning to live with them, is there inherent value in living alongside them?
So I think that's a more philosophical question, like species which are not useful to humans in a direct way.
Mhm.
We need to live with them. I think the answer is yes, because we understand the value of diversity, right? And
Right,
all of, if at all they are venomous organisms, they bring the diversity. Snakes also eat rats. Snakes also eat bandicoots. So now if we eradicate snakes, you will have a problem of other prey items going out of that. So
right.
this is again bringing back to what humans may face. But if
Right.
at all there is no consequence for humans, do you still want to have the diversity intact? I think for a biodiversity maintenance point of view, diversity is essential.
And that
And
is to have a functional ecosystem.
yes, that's to have a functional ecosystem. And I think humans is one of the species of this environment. So I think we need to learn to live with the biodiversity. It's the other way around because I think we are just one of the species, right? To have a functional
Yes.
ecosystem. Homo sapiens is just a one species. So
Yes.
I
And
think
also,
for
do you
our
want to just briefly elaborate on biodiversity, like the importance of biodiversity?
so I think people have again used biodiversity from human point of view. I can't think of beyond that. Like your pollinators, your seed dispersers, which also bring and maintain the diversity, right? So we classify them in different functional activities biodiversity can provide. But to have this as an entire ecosystem functioning, we still haven't understood a role each species may play. And what
Yes.
happens if we remove that, we'll know only once we remove that. A
Yes.
cascading
It's a very,
effects.
very humbling thought, no?
Yes. So I think instead of doing that, let's remove this and see if it still remains intact. I think we should go the other way around saying, okay, let's keep this intact.
Exactly.
How do we achieve that? That's saying, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So when I was thinking of this question before talking to you of centipedes and soil ecosystems, I was actually thinking of soil porosity and how if the soil has a, a good biome, like a good insect and microbiome, it will
Um,
be more functional in terms of having available
productive.
nutrients and in terms of its porosity and its ability to withstand flooding or all of those. And that is what makes a functional ecosystem, and any disturbance would take away from it.
That's true. And not only centipedes who are the predators, but you have earthworms, you have millipedes, which are in a way maintain or do these services much more, what you just mentioned, because the nutrition is a very
Yeah,
important component. And I think we have again identified some species and their role in healthy soil ecosystems. Like what do they do? But it's a long way to go. Like we understand individual species role, but how do they all impact soil health? Is the picture is still emerging, is what I would say. We
right,
understand some parts of it. And I think again that understanding largely comes from European soil, where we have a very good handle on the diversity there. In the tropics, I think we are still in the phase of discovery. We are still discovering
correct.
what's up there. To know
Yes.
they contribute to the soil ecosystem functioning, we have some distance to go.
So would you call the centipede's habitat the soil or the substratum, as in the layer above the soil in the leaf
Both.
litter? Where do they spend most of their time?
So daytime will be on the soil or even hibernating, but in the
Right.
night when they are active in the leaf litter or soil above, because that's where
Okay.
but they
But
also
they're
have,
not burrowing
they also fossorial. Yeah, they are.
also. As in they use pre-existing burrows to go
They
in.
can go. They can not that kind of one. They can easily go inside the soil. Like they don't need anything. You will not even see a hole after that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like shield tails.
Right. And so, as in, like blind snakes would go for termites, do centipedes do that also?
We haven't seen it, but
No.
Mhm. Is the termite their favorite food or not? We don't know, but should be because it's dominant.
Yeah, and pretty abundant. And
Yeah,
once you do find a nest, there'll be like a
yeah.
lot of it to eat. Hmm. Cool. Anything else that you think I would have missed? Anything else that you want to tell me about centipedes or anything from
So what
your
we have been
research?
studying now, it's not necessarily so much of ecology, but we looked at their evolution, like where are
Right.
the closest relatives. So we know now these centipedes which we study are of Gondwanan origin. So the close
Okay.
relate the species which in India, in Australia, Africa, and the ones which are in Europe, America, Asia, Africa, and Asia, Africa, and India. So these are the close relatives. So we know now these centipedes which we study are of Gondwanan origin. So the close relate the species which in India, in Australia, Africa, and the ones which are in Australia, Africa, in peninsular India specifically are at least 100 million year old. And then we asked questions like, how have they diversified in this landscape? How
And
do
are they
they?
related to the centipedes of the New World?
Yes, but distantly. Like you have to go far back as 250 million years. So
But is their common ancestor still a centipede?
yes, yes.
Okay.
So 420 million, as I said, was a fossil. So if I build a
Okay.
phylogenetic tree, go back that time frame. So, but
Okay.
the
So,
common ancestor of the scolopendrid centipedes which occur in peninsular India is around 100 million years. 100,
okay. So the diversification happened here.
the diversification happened here. And how did it happen? What sort of geological processes affected them? What happened to them when the Deccan volcanism, the Cretaceous volcanic activity happened? Where did they go? How did they not vanish?
Where
Which
did they go?
which areas acted as a refuge? So certain
Right.
areas of the landscape was a refuge from where they dispersed again when the landscape cooled down. And again, the climate became wet, tropical. So you were asking about human-dominated landscape, right? Over a million
Yes.
years, one can see that refuges have played a very important role. Species, if you have in the landscape, can come back. So volcanic activity, mass extinction are a big event.
Right.
So that's why we call them, right? But after that, when the climate again became stable and warm and wet, which was a favorable for these organisms, they dispersed out of southern parts and occupied other places. But those are the
So,
questions we study.
so how long were they restricted to the refugia?
So we suspect most of the dispersal which we have estimated are in the around 50 million years and after that. So
Right.
70 to 50 because our Deccan volcanic activity, we say 66 million years, but it was a
Right.
longish period, like it lasted for 4 to 5 million years. So
Right.
that's that time frame we are talking about where southern parts which were not affected by this Deccan volcanic activity, which is Agastya Malay and KMTR, those areas, which acted as a refuge, and then species could disperse again and give rise to new species.
Right. I think this is one of the species that makes you think of geological timescales, like almost, yeah. It's so you think, as in, yeah, very random, but almost in a post-apocalyptic world, there'll be centipedes, you think?
Yes, most likely.
Potentially.
Potentially. So interestingly, plants which were also there in the Cretaceous, like we know Dipterocarpaceae, Myristicaceae, all were there in peninsular India also. You have now pollen from Africa and India, which are of Cretaceous origin. But today, what we have, both Dipterocarps or Myristica, are much younger. So everything
Right.
went extinct. Then now what we have is recolonization from Southeast Asia. When India collided with Asia, we have species which have dispersed into India. So that acted as a refuge. Like everything in India went extinct, but you have a dispersal from Asia to India. But centipedes didn't. They remained, and now you have ancestors which were in southern parts of India.
Yes. Yeah. The refugia was the southern Western Ghats, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But there were other species that came in from Asia, like in the Northeast. Are
Not
there others?
no. So everything is of Gondwanan origin so far, what we have found. All
Oh,
are
wow.
yes, and everything has gone out of India to
Oh,
Asia.
really? There was there are no centipedes of North Asia origin.
No, we have mostly from India to Asia is the dispersal route.
Wow.
So we have a lot of support for out of India hypotheses. Out of Africa, basically from Africa to India and then India
Yes,
to.
yes. What about Europe? Who colonized Europe?
So I think there were lineages when the Pangaea and Gondwana breakup event happened. So we had species in Europe from
Okay.
that time period. But there are species now means
Mhm.
in last 300, 400 years with humans. Some of the tropical species have now colonized Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's a human
But they're
mediated.
being called invasives.
Yes. They're called invasive and with human.
Exotic invasives.
Yes. We don't know if they're but yeah, they're not natural there.
But they're dominant.
We don't know in our ecosystem.
Not yet.
Not yet. We don't know.
You don't know if they're out competing the locals.
Locals yet. Yes. But anyway, Europe has a less diversity as compared to the tropics.
So as in any lessons from this geologic time scale study of centipedes?
That I think climatically they can tolerate pretty wide niches.
More than humans, you think?
More than humans, I guess. But humans also have, I think, gone across climates and they made their homes across climatic conditions. But yeah, and they can burrow, they can be fossorial. So what is
Yes.
above ground as a structure, as a forest, doesn't necessarily matter all the time. And their climatic niche widths are much broader. And that's one of the direction we will be looking at. What was the past climate in which these species have evolved? Currently, what climatic niches do they occupy? And now, given we are going to face global change,
Exactly.
what happens to them? Would they all survive? Is there a group which is more susceptible, more vulnerable than others? So that's something we will be looking at now.
Yeah. So you said they prefer moist, wet, and warm climate. So you would guess that anything that is going to dry up will
Maybe.
not be great for them.
Yeah, but you have species which are dry adapted. They go,
Correct.
I said, when the monsoon, like there is a rain in the 4 months, they come out. What happens to them? How they use the below ground habitats is something to look at. But yes, as you said, they may be around. They have been around for 400 million years, which is not a short time period.
Yeah. Yes. I remember the last time I was in Valparai, Sridhar was asking me how I stay positive about life with everything else going around. And I told him I was watching this series on Netflix. I forget the name. There was this recent one, no? Our Living Planet or Our Planet Earth. Like they come out with one every year. The more recent one, they used a lot of CGI and they recreated like this past
For climate.
everything, climate and animals and birds and everything. And so the story basically covered the four mass extinctions.
Oh, okay.
And I was telling him how, if you think in those terms, like there are mass extinctions and then life just carries on somehow, that it might be okay. And that's how I stay positive. And he's like, that's pretty depressing.
Humans may not be part of it, but life will continue. So I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
think
Hopefully, centipedes will be a part of it.
Yes.
But sorry, what about the question in that was, how do you stay positive?
I think you answered that. Humans, I think we
Right.
see everything very from human point of view. And as we have seen, 6 mass extinctions. So trilobites, which is a group of arthropods, were completely extinct. Now today we have only fossils. But when trilobites dominated, there was a humongous diversity of trilobites. And they dominated not a short period, they dominated some 250 million years. The earth was dominated by them. They went extinct. So I think, but their stem group arthropods is what one debate is. Like, is this a ancestor to the entire arthropoda today? Yeah, and I think because I don't work in the conservation directly, it's very easy to live positive about it because I go to forest for work and I think I see the better part of the forest, but of course, it's parts of it are depressing.
Yeah. Yes. Cool. Anything else? Any last thing you want to say?
No, I think we have spoken about centipedes enough. By the way, we
Yeah,
also study
cool.
plants now, so and millipedes. So
Oh, really? I didn't know about millipedes.
yes, so there is a graduate student in the lab, Prakedeep, and who has started a work on millipedes because it's really interesting. Both groups have started diversifying at the same time, similar evolutionary paths. They are sister lineages, but very contrasting traits. One is a carnivore, one is a detrivore,
Yes.
one is more species rich, one is species poor. Like predators are tend to be species poor, but millipedes.
Yes.
Behaviorally, millipedes are many more things to study as compared to centipedes. They can also be studied in the lab. So he has begun that work. So we do
And
study.
is it mostly biogeography that he's starting with, or is it something else?
Phylogeny biogeography is what he is starting with.
Okay.
So
And evolutionary biology.
evolutionary biology of plants. That's what he will be looking at. But of
Nice.
course, plant. With
Yes.
similar questions about plants as well.
Yeah, yes, I know about the plant work. That's also very interesting. Cool.
Cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this.